A railroad in South Carolina that is long thought to be haunted by a woman searching for her decapitated husband's head turns out to be the victim of a more natural phenomenon, earthquake lights. A fault which previously caused an earthquake in 1886 runs below the tracks, and earthquake lights are frequently seen along shallow active fault lines.
But I got to be honest, Addie. I don't mean I don't mean to go for the low hanging fruit, but everyone in live chat agrees with me. Science and ghosts, earthquake lights. You've got to go into this.
I thought that might be the winner after our UFOs last week.
I don't mean to turn everything into clickbaity UFO things, but I do enjoy it. But also, what you're talking about is a debunk. You're talking about a scientific debunk for a ghost story. I want to hear it.
Okay, so this interview actually was published in the journal Science, which is one of the preeminent, like Science and Nature are the two journals that if you get published in, you are doing excellent work.
Doing well. Okay.
Um, Essentially, there is a seismologist who works for the USGS, which is the US Geological Survey,
Mhm.
who she was out along they discovered a kink in the railroad that was caused by an 1886 7.3 magnitude earthquake in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
They realized there is a shallow fault around
Mhm.
there, and shallow active faults frequently have this phenomenon that, again, I was googling earlier today because I'm not a seismologist. This was
Mhm.
interesting to me. It's called earthquake lights. No one really quite knows what they are because they're really hard to study because they don't occur, like earthquakes, they don't really occur with any warning, so it's really hard to like set up sensors and be figuring out. The
Mm.
very basic idea is that, going back to our xenon talk, that it's trapped gases coming out of the
Okay.
fault lines and reacting with the oxygen in the atmosphere and like igniting
Like a poof? Is it a
like a
poof?
poof, like a poof.
It's a ghostly poof.
It's a ghostly poof. So where and you can see these lights occur all the time from
Hmm.
these little fault lines, and yeah, that a lot of supernatural events might just be earthquake lights.
That just might be, let's just say it, earth farts. Like that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
I'll bring in the bar talk for it. I absolutely love this. So what this is creating, and I am the dumb guy here. This is why we have Professor Smart Things on the show. So these poofs, they're visible, they're seen. So people who might be reporting a ghost down at the train tracks aren't lying. They're seeing something they can't explain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Jared,
It's
Jared the
just
Tie
not
Pilot,
the
and
ghost. It's not the ghost of a woman searching for her decapitated husband's head.
right. See, and Jared the Tie Pilot is thinking of me. It's the classic swamp gas answer, which has, I know it's maybe not always the answer. It's not always the answer we want. And I'm not saying that this is every ghost reporting. I said last week, I want to start telling ghost stories here. If you out there listening, you out there watching, have a ghost story, get in here, get into chat, get into a call. I want to hear them. I think there's definitely things we can't explain, and there's definitely things that defy explanation. But sometimes they're earth farts. And Addie, do you think this will? How did this come about? How did suddenly one day someone was like, that ghost story they all tell about old Mildred and the kid? Let's go look at it. How did this come about?
So apparently, again, this was an interview with the seismologist in question. She says she was working in Charleston and she would go to bookstores and libraries looking at local publications.
Right.
Um, and there were newspaper articles about the Somerville Light, which is what they called it. There was also a book called Haunted Somerville.
I'm gonna write
And then
that down.
last
Okay.
October, apparently the USGS newsletter ran a little feature on spooky science, which got her thinking again about ghost stories, and all the pieces just sort of started falling into place with her of what this particular ghost story could actually be.
I just admire you, smart people. I really look up to you, smart people. I just wake up in the morning and I want to play Fortnite and feed my dog and maybe get a cheeseburger. You all out there think, how can I look at things differently? How can I look at a ghost story that has a history to it and figure it out? And then they do. That's amazing. I'm gonna check that out. So Somerville Lights. I'm gonna look up that whole story. And I want to see this applied to other stories. Not to discount other ghost stories, Addie, but just to say, is it a ghost or is it an earth fart? That's the question today.